Hi, Jesse Durham here. Let's talk access to capital. Now, my frame of reference is, as always, going to be from Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker, the infinite banking concept. So, access to capital. Let's look at why we need to amass it, how we need to control access to that capital, where to put it, and all these different things. Let's paint that picture and what that looks like. So, regardless of whether we are employees, business owners, investors, whatever the case may be, we can't have too much capital. We can't have too much control of capital. So, in looking at the who's and the where's and the how's and the why's, let's look at, again, as described in Nash's book, dividend paying whole life insurance policies through a mutual company. So, with that policy being a privately owned entity, a private contract, that's safeguarded against litigation in most states, and you as the owner having access and control of the cash values in those policies. There are guarantees in that contract, so the growth, is occurring tax free. There are all these pieces that contribute to, why we pick that dividend paying whole life insurance policy with a mutual company that's been properly structured for banking purposes. That way, there's a location that we control without taking any additional risk to be able to have access to that capital for our purposes as employees, let's say, whether that could be getting your next vehicle, financing that for yourself, keeping the money in the family, or remodeling, or covering kids' college, or getting a boat for the lake, whatever the case may be, having access to that capital for those life things that we're going to do anyway. And now, in that scenario, looking at it from the perspective of an employee, where maybe a certain percentage of income is being set aside for those purposes to be able to finance those things that happen in our life, those things that we're going to spend those dollars for anyway. Now, those same dollars have accomplished not that single goal of procuring the next vehicle, but also of increasing our net worth and building an ideal asset and all the other different things described in the book. So, from the perspective of a business owner, then there's always going to be that next piece of equipment that we need. There's going to be taxes for our business, other insurances for our business, the overheads associated with whatever our business may be, things where we need to have access to capital. And obviously, it would be ideal to then be able to recapture that capital into the business with interest. That way, that volume of interest is not going elsewhere, but rather it's being kept within the business to promote the business. Because more than likely, rather than parking money in some entity that we don't control, and where the tax situation is not the same, and just all these other different characteristics are not as ideal, now, as the business owner, the best investment we could be making is back into our business to be able to grow that, scale that, and whatever that may look like for you. Investor, from the perspective of an investor, you can't have too much access to capital, can't have too much capital for opportunities. Nelson would describe how opportunities will seek you out. They will find you when you have capital. So, in having capital, as an investor, you can, in a timely fashion, in control of the access to that capital, you can optimize, you can take advantage of more opportunities as they arrive. So let's not let access to capital and how that is fulfilled, how that is laid out, and being the owner of a banking policy and being the first person in line to have access to the cash values of that policy, how that can benefit us in these different areas where we're already going to be spending dollars, where we're already going to be using dollars, where we're already going to be putting our money to work for different things in our lives, whether consuming or producing. But now we can control that access to the capital and use it to our advantage. So Jesse Durham come to you on a point there with having access to capital.